Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Thomas Jefferson said, "If you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done." Benjamin Franklin said, "Without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achievement, and success have no meaning." Basically, get off your duff, get to working. You've got dreams, you've got goals, you've got to do what it takes to get them. Like, subscribe, comment, show what your opinion is. Let me know if you like what you've seen. And I thank you for your support. Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Down below is a link tree if you want to contact me on social media or if you want to help me out via Patreon. It's all there. So, today we're going to cover a book called Dragonslayers by Larry Schweikart. 6 Presidents and Their War with the Swamp. Now, it's an interesting read. I will give it that. It is an interesting read. It's got many good factual points. But at the same time, Mr. Schweikart, who has a good background, and I am actually interested in some of his other works just to see what he has to say in them. I honestly believe that there are times that he goes on looking for little rabbit holes. But the book itself is worth the read. You will find some interesting history. There's just a couple of points that I'm a little about, but overall, I would say read the book. But we're going to still go into it. We're going to discuss the book. So here we go. Now, we're going to start with his coverage of Abraham Lincoln and the slave swamp, as he called it. For the most part, I actually agreed with this. I think that he covered a topic that how he covered it is fairly interesting. I wouldn't have looked at it like that, but now that I have, thanks to him, I believe that Schweikart has done a pretty good job of it. And this is a part that I think everybody should read up on. It's fascinating what he goes into on this. So, this first part about Lincoln, yes, pick it up. You're going to learn far more than you have to worry about. You have to think a little bit. I mean, it does cause you to think, which is a really good thing. So, yeah, the Lincoln part, excellent part. The next president that he covered is Grover Cleveland and the Spoils Swamp. Now, this, I have to admit, has caused me to want to study his presidency far more than I have. I'm not a big Grover Cleveland person. But I will say this. I believe that what he covers is fascinating. And from what I know of the time period, like I said, I'm not that big on Grover Cleveland, but what I read and what I know of the era, this is actually quite true. There's a lot that people need to take from it. It gives you a history as to what was going on and how it led to what we have today. And part of this is how we hire people. We go from individuals being hired to groups of people being hired, aka special interest groups. You take a look at the the Department of Education. That's teachers' union. If unions just took over our government, and this explains how that happened. How it was meant to fix things, but it turned into something more. But that's a second president. The third is where I'm a little not happy with what I read in the book because of his conclusions. The history is amazing. I do know quite a bit of the history that he was covering. I didn't know it all, but I knew enough. but I disagree with some of his conclusions. It's Teddy Roosevelt and the Trust Swamp. It is going after big business. I think that the trust are far less of the demon that everybody thinks that they were. But it was a different time in America. Okay, some of them, I'm not a major fan of major corporations, but it was at this time that they started learning how to fight back properly. I think that the trusts were actually trying to do some good, and then they just kept getting attacked to the point that they said, oh, the heck with it. Let's quit paying attention to everybody and start doing what we want to do. But that's my take on it. His take is quite interesting, so I'm not saying don't read it. I'm just saying that I disagree with it. John F. Kennedy and the CIA swamp. This one, I'm not sure where he was bouncing a little bit in this part. Was it well written? Yes. Was the history done well? Yes. I think he glossed over way too much. He really did. His covering of Mossadegh in Iran, yeah, he covered it up way too much. Same with Guatemala. Way too much glossing over of certain facts. And Kennedy, I don't really believe, was trying to fight the CIA swamp, which is why you would have had him in this book in the first place. It's a little confusing and too much is glossed over. I would dare say that he needs to read the book The Brothers, which is about the Dulles brothers. This part, I would say read your history on the CIA, specifically the Dulles brothers, and read up on some other facts dealing with CIA and John F. Kennedy, and you'll probably come away with the same impression that I did. I know that Kennedy had his good sides, but this is a chapter that I know he was trying to get six presidents in there, but really this wasn't the best part of this book. This is the part that I think that makes the book go from a good book to an interesting book. Could have even been a great book, but this chapter just ruins it for me. Ronald Reagan and the Bureaucracy Swamp. I think that this was a well written chapter. I think that he covered that history very well. I'm not surprised at how much he went into it, but I think a lot of people need to read this. This is one of the two, I would say three chapters of this book that I find, I don't care who you vote for, what you stand for, that if you read this chapter, you'll get a far more understanding of Reagan. I think that too many people attack Reagan nowadays that shouldn't be attacking Reagan. And this chapter really does give you an insight into what was going on and what Reagan was attempting to do with very minimal help. And he also had a budget director that was I'm not even going to say what my opinion is of his budget director. This is an excellent chapter. Matter of fact, this is going on to a very good chapter. So, this is one of the chapters in the book you should read. Donald Trump and the Deep State Swamp. This chapter really does give some good insights. I'm not saying it's the best chapter in the book, little politically motivated, but it's an excellent read. Causes you to think, causes you to want to do some more research. It may not change the minds of those who are suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, but I honestly believe that this is a chapter that people should read in a book. It's a very well written chapter, and I have to say, it was far less political than I thought it would be, but it was still, you could tell that this guy loves Trump. But its placement's a good thing, and I think that people need to read it to understand it. And yeah, this is a well informed chapter. Overall, this book is a good read. I believe that many people should read this. If you're inclined to be a little rabid as a liberal, yeah, don't read this. But if you're somebody who has a good grasp on history, it's a good book to read. If you've got the ability to think for yourself, this is a good book to read. This is not a book for those that are dogmatic. It is a good book to read if you want some thoughts on history from somebody who has studied history. Like I said, I don't agree with everything in the book, and I am willing to say that this book needs to be read by people. So, if you get a chance, pick the book up. It's an easy read, doesn't take long. Some people might not like it, but it's well worth the read. So, just thought I would suggest this for people. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. Folks, I just want to say thank you for listening. I want to thank you for taking your time. I want to hear what your comments are about what you think on this topic, because your comments are what's important, not necessarily mine. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're conservative. I don't care if you're liberal. I don't care if you're Democrat. I want to hear your opinion on these topics. I want to thank you yet again for listening to my video. Like, subscribe, and all that other hoopla. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.